Now it's time for Lefties Losing It, and we have a star-studded lineup for you tonight, from Barbara Streisand to our late-night TV hosts. But let's start, Lefties, with the always clueless, always bitter, always delusional ladies of The View. God bless ABC for keeping this awful program on air. If it wasn't for the hosts of The View, well, I don't know where I'd get my content from some days. All the hosts are pretty awful, but some are more awful than others. Listen here as one of the less awful hosts tries to say something actually sensible and factual, but Sunny Hostin ain't having it. She just keeps screeching misogyny, sexism.
These different demographics and these assumptions of where they're going to go. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not.
Who's there? Oh my gosh, it's Whoopi.
There you have it. They're all just a pack of misogynist monsters down there, all the Latinos, Hispanics. That's what Sunny thinks. It sounds a little bit racist if you ask me. But the meltdowns did not end there. Here she attacks not just Latinos, but America. The whole country is rotten, apparently.
I think the more relevant question actually is, what is wrong with America? I think what is wrong with our country? What is wrong with this country that they would choose a message of divisiveness, of xenophobia, of racism, of misogyny over a message of inclusiveness?
Oh, yes, so inclusive, so tolerant. Can she even hear herself? But Sunny wasn't done yet. The angry rant continued, and it got weirder and weirder.
Children to be shot, it's wealth to be hoarded, it's worker to be exploited, it's poor to starve, it's cops to murder.
Okay, talking about weird, I'm going to miss this woman, Gwen Walls, the wife of Kamala Harris's VP pick, Tim Walls. She would have been a rich source of material for this segment, but sadly, Harris and Walls were a uniquely terrible, inauthentic and unelectable team. Here is Gwen, however, rallying the troops after the devastating loss.
I'm not sure if you heard me. We cannot and we will not give up this fight. That's right, come on! Come on! That's right, we cannot and we will not give up this fight! That's right. All right, you can sit down now.
You can sit down now. I'm going to miss you, Gwen, but we're turning the page. We're turning the page.
Bye-bye, Donald Trump. We are turning the page.
Oh, we'll always have that. That was possibly my favourite Lefties Losing It moment of the year. She's a little bit terrifying, if you ask me. Now, let's check in with a couple of late-night TV hosts who are not coping well with reality. Let's start with the painfully unfunny hypocrite Jimmy Kimmel, who was brought to tears by democracy, but he started off pretty cocky before the election.
Little snowflake. What a blowhard. He's a blowhard and a snowflake. He's a blowflake is what he is. He should change the hats to say, "Make America Wine Again." More than half of this country voted for the criminal. Still trying to figure out what happened.
Oh, now, that's a tad unfair. Let's have a listen to why he's crying. Maybe there is something redeeming or insightful we can learn from this man.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth.
He is totally demented. It was a terrible night for democracy. What, democracy was terrible for democracy? A candidate winning in a landslide, winning the Electoral College by the biggest margin we've seen from a Republican in 36 years, winning the popular vote, biggest popular vote ever by a Republican. winning convincingly, including the Senate, every swing state, and that's bad for democracy. You see, the left only values democracy if they win. And during that little emotional diatribe from Kimmel, he talked about women's rights and decency. I'm sorry, but I'm not about to be lectured on decency from this creep.
Tell us what you think of the statue. I mean, do you think that she's attractive or not? Take another look at it.
It's so obscene that we've had to pixelate some of that footage and can't show you the whole thing. He's always been gross and frightfully unfunny. And talking about unfunny, let's hear from Stephen Colbert.
All day yesterday, I was walking around proudly wearing my I voted sticker. Today, I wore my I am questioning my fundamental belief in the goodness of humanity sticker. Now, they give those out. This is a democracy. That's democracy with a capital duh. And in this democracy, the majority has spoken, and they said they don't care that much about democracy.
You know, the Republicans should pray to have political opponents that are this dumb, this blind, this deluded, and completely incapable of introspection, so out of touch and insulated in their little echo chambers that they are unlikely to ever work out the obvious reasons why Donald Trump won in a landslide. At least Colbert is honest enough to note that his audience is protected from the truth.
If you watch this show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither.
Yep, if you watch trash like that, reality will hit you hard because you've been fed nothing but leftist lies and hysteria. And a woman who clearly has been on a diet of lies and hysteria and pancakes is Barbara Streisand. Remember the last time Trump was president and she claimed that he was making her fat? That's a real headline. Well, this time she's pledging to flee the country.
How do you feel about the specter of a second Trump administration?
I will move. I can't live in this country if he became president.
But where would you go? Where would you go?
Probably to England.
Mm-hmm.
I like England.
Now, there'll be plenty more Lefties content with my next guest, host of Primetime with Alex Stien on Blaze TV. Alex Stien, who also did invaluable work as a white dude for Kamala.
We have to stop Donald Trump from getting into office. I came here with a dream, and I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to stand for Donald Trump, and I'm doing it for these kids. I love these kids. I love these kids. I'm just not happy. I'm going through so much, and my damn wife keeps posting on Facebook she's in Cancun, Mexico, with her new boyfriend. And I just want one kid to learn how to do math.
Oh, some of your best work, Alex. Explain yourself, please.
Well, Rita, that was the day after the election, and they had a special meeting in Washington, D.C., because the testing scores, the standardized scores for the Washington school children, K through 12, were alarmingly bad. In the inner city schools, that the kids were proficient for their grade level, just 8% of the students were proficient. So they had to have a special meeting all about math. So that's why I went up there and talked about math. But that was the day after the election. And listen, I was up all night celebrating that Donald Trump win. I rolled in there. You know, my pencil was not full of lead, but still, I went in there and did my best. And
it was a great performance.
I'm so happy. Thank you, Rita.
It was a great performance. Now, people do celebrate in different ways, and I'm wondering whether you had anything to do with this celebration.
You ain't the same on the game. Hey, Donald Trump is your president, and if you like it or not.
Donald Trump is your daddy again. Did you put that sign up, Alex? It looks like your work.
No, I did not. And, you know, honestly, Daddy Trump needs to come back. He's coming back. Gas prices are about to get cheap. We don't have to worry about biological men beating women in women's sports. I mean, the world is going to get exponentially better. So if we got to call Donald Trump Daddy, he is. He's the father of this country, and there's no better father than Donald Trump.
Now, Alex, Donald Trump's youngest son, Barron, has been credited for helping guide his father's strategy to attract younger voters through appearances with podcasters, comics like Theo Von, The Joe Rogan Show, Adam Ross. Here is Donald Trump talking about Barron's involvement in his campaign.
So I have a son who's very smart and tall, Barron, right? And he knows all about you. He knows about guys I never heard of. He said, Dad, you don't know how big they are. They're big. You know, he told me how big. I said, who the hell is he? Like Ross. I did. He said, Dad, he's a great guy. I mean, guys that are doing, it's a whole new world out there.
How much of a difference did this so-called bro vote have in this election? I remember Republican women like Riley Gaines, even Megyn Kelly, were encouraging men to go out there and vote to help save the country.
Well, it was huge. And a lot of people want to criticize Donald Trump, but I think the best judgment of a man's character is how well Donald Trump's children are doing. And his son Barron is a genius for basically putting his campaign over the top. And then on top of that, you look at Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and, you know, his other children that have issues. You know, the Obamas, their kids are pretty wacky. All of Donald Trump's children work in his business, support him. They all have clean criminal records. I don't think any of them are selling our secrets to the Ukraine. So Donald Trump is a great father, and he raised a great young man in Barron Trump, and I'm really indebted to him for making him think outside the box and go on these podcasts and do untraditional media. And I really do think that was the difference in this election.
Now let's have a look at some young men celebrating this famous victory.
There was never any doubt, Kamala, you're fired.
Being unburdened by Kamala Harris feels pretty good there. They're celebrating hard. Has there been any violence? I saw there were protests today in New York, Seattle, Chicago, all the usual places. But are they smashing up windows and attacking people yet, or are they saving that for the inauguration?
Yeah, I think they're waiting for the inauguration to start burning down all of the city buildings. But, you know, that celebration dance is now taking over the NFL and college football. Multiple players for the San Francisco 49ers are doing it today. Yesterday, a bunch of college football players are doing that dance. So Donald Trump is just, I mean, he's a cultural phenomenon. Everything he touches turns into gold, literally. Even his dance moves are the hottest trending thing on TikTok and all over the world. So, you know, we're celebrating. Nobody here is really upset. I think everybody's ready for our country to take a step in the right direction.
Constructing the Call Her Daddy podcast in a hotel room. I mean, look at that. How does that cost $100,000? It's beyond me. Tell me about how they've managed to waste $1 billion and still have the most devastating loss.
I mean, Rita, Kamala Harris spent $1 billion on her campaign and is somehow $20 million in debt. I think that's the definition of girl math. And that would be a clear indication of how she would run the country. If she ran her campaign with free money and is still in debt, then this country would only get in much worse debt. And you know what? It actually really makes me upset that they had to build a fake set in a hotel room when there's a million different studios in D.C. and New York that they could have rented out and redecorated and spent not even 1/8 of that, probably 1/10, probably for $10,000. They could have got a very nice studio, but they don't care about that. All they wanted to do is waste as much money and not actually do any, you know, real deal interviews. Joe Rogan even said that they needed to curate and edit the interview if she did sit down with him. So she's just inauthentic. She's a phony. And because of that, nobody wanted to vote for her.
Now, we've got some news about Donald Trump's administration. He's already announced that the likes of Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo will not be part of Trump 2.0. That was news that pleased his base enormously. And today, CNN are reporting that Elise Stefanik will be the ambassador to the UN. That's the early reporting. What do you think about these choices thus far?
Well, Congresswoman Stefanik's great. She's defended Donald Trump through and through, and she's in a traditionally red district in New York. So even though she's going to be plucked out of her position as Congresswoman, that district will probably still stay red. And, you know, with Nikki Haley, she's got to go. I mean, she stayed in that primary and just costed Donald Trump votes and really positive energy for his campaign and just tried to stifle it before it even got started. So I'm happy that he's not going to surround himself with neocons and warmongers like Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo. So Donald Trump's already making great decisions.
And finally, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA supervisor Marnie Washington has now been fired after it was revealed that she had told disaster relief workers on the ground in Lake Placid, Florida, to not assist people whose homes had Trump signs in the front yard. This is in the wake of Hurricane Milton. It's incredible that this could have happened. When I first heard this, I thought that there is no chance someone would actually give that direction. But Alex, here we are.
Getting fired is not enough. I mean, they should charge her criminally for neglect or at least something more serious than just getting fired. And I'm sure she had a decent job at FEMA, probably made over 6 figures. But like I said, not giving aid to people because they have a different political viewpoint than you and don't want to vote for Kamala Harris, that's disgusting. That should be some sort of crime. And it just shows you that our federal emergency management system just does not care about actually helping people, especially if you have a different political viewpoint as a person that's handing out the aid.
Alex Stien, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rita.